what happens when you look at creativity through the lens of therapy and vice versa? You have creativity in an ever-changing world with Dr. Judi Blume and Richard Skipper. In every episode, they come together with amazing artists who prove that with just a little ingenuity, we are all creative beings and that the gifts lie within despite the challenges of the outside world. And now, here are Dr. Judi Blume and Richard Skipper.
Hello, Judi. How are you?
Hi, Richard. I love the set.
We are here in Oz today because we are going to be celebrating Stephen Schwartz. We are celebrating the ASA, which of course is the American Songbook Association. We are celebrating superheroes, or as I'm calling them today, superheroines, because today is Superheroes Day, but we're celebrating superheroines. You are a superheroine because of all the work that you do. And we have three amazing women today. I am proud to call each and every one of them friend, but individually they do great work, but collectively they are doing amazing work. And we're going to be talking about each of them in a few moments. But as we begin each show, who or what are you celebrating today?
I'm celebrating upcoming Mother's Day, right? I'm going to get to see my kids. I have friends coming in from California who are going to be with me for a couple of days, and they'll be here over Mother's Day. And I'm celebrating love and friendship.
Well, there's a lot of that to go around. There's so much that we can be thankful for right now, and I'm glad that you say that. I love my mom. Thank God she's still with us. Is your mom still around?
No, my mom's been gone for quite a while. And, one of the things I want to talk about today is mothers and the role that they play in our lives, and, how meaningful our relationship with them is, even when it's problematic for some people. Fortunately, mine wasn't problematic, but for a lot of people it is. And I think it's important to take a look at that too, and still understand some of the lessons we learn. So how about you, Richard? What do you think you learned from your mother? What's
resilience, going through difficult times. My mom is, are you ready? Are you sitting down? My mom is the oldest of 16 kids.
Oh my God.
So my mom, I grew up in South Carolina, and my father was one of 11 kids. So I grew up with a huge family. I'm the oldest of four. I said they always went for the difference. But because they grew up in farming families, and farming families had lots of children because they worked on the farms. So my mom, from a very early age, was a caretaker, and she was taking care of the other kids. And right through high school, my mom met my dad in her senior year in high school, and they got married right after she graduated from high school. And I was born 13 months later. And so when my father passed away, which was 20 years ago, it was the first time in my mom's life that she was on her own. So kudos to my mom, who, thank God, she's still with us. And I learned a lot from my mom. So yes. But each day I pick a word that I like to focus on. And the word, and it's interesting that you picked Mother's Day and everything, because the word that I picked today is legacy, because we learned a lot from our mothers and everything. And the word that I picked today is legacy, because legacy, I think, ties in with the work that the American Songbook Association is doing, because they are working on both sides of the spectrum. They are bringing arts and music into schools. And now, thanks to the work that Carolyn Montgomery, who is at the helm of the American Songbook Association, they are also taking music into senior citizens' homes and the work that they're doing. But I'd like to bring our first guest on. And that's my dear friend, Ann Kittredge, who has been on this show before. And we are glad and thrilled that she is back. She's actually in Cape Cod right now with her mother. Speaking of moms, so we're thrilled that she's taking an hour away from her mom right now to be with us.
My mother is too.
So, first of all, there's so much that you are involved with, Anne. I will say this: Anne is truly one of my favorite friends and dearest people on the planet. We are constantly checking in with each other and bouncing ideas off of each other, good and bad.
Yeah, we get deep. We get deep.
We get deep with each other's secrets and everything. But we'll start there. And, you know, you and Judi have met before. So I'll let you take the conversation right now.
Me?
You and Judi.
Oh, okay. So Judi, what throw it at me. What do you want to know?
Well, let's start with mothers, okay?
Okay.
Tell us about your own mother. Are you a mother as well?
I am. I have 2 children.
Uh-huh.
Yes. So my mother, my mother was invisible to me until my father died. And as much as I was devastated that my father died young, I don't know if he were still alive, if I'd ever had a relationship with my mother, because my father and I were so close. And so when, so over time, I had to get to know her. And I don't want to suggest that my mother was not present when I was a child. It's just that from my perspective, it was all about my father.
I have the same exact experience, so I totally get it.
You get it.
Absolutely the same experience.
Yeah. And so I, it was rocky because it was really like getting to know someone that I just never had paid attention to. I know that's awful to say, but it's true. And we had our rocky times. We certainly did. And now she's 95 and she's doing pretty darn good. And I've said this before to my friends that I think that sometimes when people get really old, that all the masks come off and then you just see their innate self. And that's why some are just so like jerky and just so, ornery and blah, blah, blah. My mother is the sweetest woman. She is so sweet. And I'm like, oh my gosh, that's my mom. That's my mom. No mask. She's just sweet.
So, and you're a mother yourself. So what lessons do you think you've imparted to your own children? Maybe lessons you've learned from your own mother.
Yes. Well, my mother taught me, she really did. And I have to admit that some of this was unconscious on my part until it became conscious. But my mother definitely taught me to live my life as a giver and not a taker. And I do see that in my kids. And also to never stop moving, it doesn't matter how old you are, you can reinvent, you can re-explore. My mother just up until the pandemic, she was still in the church choir and she was still giving therapy back rubs to neighbors. That's my mother. So yeah. So I think those are the things that she probably has, it's the legacy of my mother through myself and my kids. Yeah.
Terrific.
That's great. Well, we are here especially to talk about the work that you are now doing with the American Songbook Association. Let's start first of all with, if you can tell those who don't know what the American Songbook Association is really about. And let's start with what their mission statement is and what it was that pulled you in and what it is that you feel that you are bringing to the American Songbook Association. I, of course, know what you bring to the American Songbook Association, ASA for short. And if you can take it from there.
That's a huge multi-question. Okay, let me.
He's good at those.
Let's start with, I was initially on the advisory board because of my public education advocacy experience. And then Carolyn called me and asked me if I would be on the board. And I was very reluctant because honestly, I really didn't know if I had anything to offer. I wasn't sure. But then I said yes, and just jumped right in. And that's partly or a lot because of Carolyn is an inspiring leader. She is, to me, the epitome of a leader in that she doesn't say everyone else do it. She's doing it. She's doing. And so how do you not support that kind of a leader?
Thank you for that. That's great.
So, I jumped in, and we're really, we've got really lofty goals for this organization. One of the things that I think is particularly important to me is the student program that they bring to schools, which of course has been affected by COVID, in some ways, of course, but the mission specifically for that program is not to develop talent to become professionals, but it is to serve their cultural capital development, so that they are exposed to American songbook music and develop a love. But maybe they'll be our future audiences. Maybe they'll be future performers. But our goal is not to make them performers. It's to make them appreciate and to enjoy and have fun and value that. And one of the things that I'm particularly proud of, which I think is something that I brought to the program, is in selecting the schools that we go to. We don't go to the schools that are essentially in the poorest, because those schools already get enormous funding. Our target is the schools that just barely are out of that funding, that still do not have the parental financial support to provide these kind of opportunities, right? But they're also just a little bit too much money in order to get the federal funding.
That's great. That's a great niche. Yeah.
And so I'm really happy because my daughter actually, she's going to be a senior in college next year. So this was years ago, but my daughter was in one of those schools where they were getting all this funding, and then they changed the formula and they dropped right out, and we lost, oh my gosh, all the extracurricular programs. It was devastating.
Right. Yeah.
So, yeah.
So I do want to mention that coming up to help raise money for your organization, you have the Gala coming up. And the Gala that is coming up is going to be celebrating one of the greatest composers that the theater knows, from Godspell to Wicked. And of course, I'm talking about Stephen Schwartz. And this gala is going to be taking place. I'm going to bring this up yes, there it is. And on May 9th. And just to tell you about some of the names that are going to be part of this, Ann Harada and Terry Ralston and Jason Gra, and helping put all of this together is Wendy Schurr. And here she is. Wendy Schurr is your gala chair person. And Wendy, welcome to the show, first of all.
Thank you.
And Wendy, this is such a massive undertaking. How did you, first of all, get involved? I know that you and Carolyn are very good friends, as we are as well.
Yes.
But how did you get pulled into this yourself? And what was it that attracted you to say yes? I will say you no longer live in Manhattan.
I no longer live in the tri-state area.
That's right. You live on the other side of the country, practically. And you have your own show coming up in the midst of this.
Same week, yes.
Yes. What was it that said yes to you?
So, as you have acknowledged, Carolyn and I are, very close friends, and we speak often. And many years ago, prior to the pandemic, she invited me to come teach in the program, which she, through, our relationship, she learned I had actually run in Westchester County. I taught privately in some after-school programs, and in our public school after-school programs, I taught musical theater to elementary school kids' age. In fact, one of my classes was called The Wizard of Oz, Wiz and Wicked. That's so interesting that kind of is part of this now. And, the day, I've said it to so many people, teaching that day was just magical for so many reasons. And it sort of goes back to the word legacy, Richard, because when I was teaching, I didn't know how the students were going to receive the music we were presenting. And, Carolyn starts the program off in a way she just captures them immediately. But as the program goes on and throughout, the hour we're in the school, the music, you start to see them go, oh, wait, my grandmother listens to that. My aunt listens to that. And it wasn't just a connection to music, but it became a connection to their homes and the people that surround them, or my I hear that down the hall from my neighbor. And so it was an incredible, inspiring, and quite joyously surprising day for me. So that got me invested in the success of the ASA and the program. And, then the pandemic hit and, I moved, so I missed the second gala. But when Carolyn was becoming executive director and we were talking about the gala, I'm a fairly strong-willed, honest to a fault person. And I shared some of my thoughts about prior galas and how I thought they could be more successful and sort of take the ASA towards Carolyn's vision. And so I said, listen, you haven't really had a committee work on a gala before. I think you should put together a committee. And I'll be on that committee if I can be in New York. And we established that I could be in New York. And she says, great, let me talk to the board. And she comes back, she says, we're going to have a committee and you're the chair.
I love it.
So, and because I adore her, I couldn't say no. And I have to say, it has been an enormous undertaking, but we haven't even gotten to the gala, and I am so proud of what we've accomplished. I set pretty lofty goals for it. And nobody pushed back and said, no, we can't do that. Everybody was like, yes, we can do that. And we have an amazing team, and everybody kind of hit their stride at different points. And I'm really proud of where we've gotten.
How does it differ, Wendy, from the previous galas?
Well, I think part of it was the approach that there was going to be a committee, and everybody, it wasn't just the board working on it. And there was a group specifically focused on this, and we focused on the marketing, and we focused on our imagery and being consistent from start to finish. And how does it look different than a cabaret event? Because, the American Songbook Association, a big part of their program is Cabaret Scenes magazine. And how do we begin to expand it? And one of the main goals was to broaden the audience, to make a larger group of people aware of what the ASA is doing. And I have found when people say to me, oh, what are you doing? Why are you doing this? And I explain it, people are like immediately in, because who doesn't want to see arts education in schools? Right. And especially this kind of music, where we're a generation that doesn't, listen, I have 2 boys and one of them does listen to rap. It's like country music and rap. And, and I argue with my boys constantly, they go, rap is actually not music. They will strongly debate me, but I'm just saying, I raised them with all types of music. We've shared everything in the home. As I was raised, everything was played in the home. And so I want to see that continue, not just in my home, but in many homes, and the exposure, for everybody.
Well, we're going to bring Carolyn on in just a second so that she knows that we're going to bring her on. But I want to ask you, I mean, we call this show now Creativity in an Ever-Changing World. And you've already established that this gala is being put together differently because you do have a committee in place. Do you think that because this is being put together because we are still going through the world of COVID, do you think that it's being put together in any different way than you would have done if COVID was not in place?
The gala itself, probably, but I can't necessarily say what those differences would be, because I came into this. Normally, if you're working on an event like this and you're chairing it, your work begins probably 11 to 12 months before the event. I really came in November. So some of it was set already. So
can I interrupt and say you came in November with an expected gala date of February that was rescheduled because of COVID.
Got it.
Yes. So I came in a few months behind schedule. So they had already made decisions. So I can't speak to whether or not it would be different from COVID. We're obviously constantly reacting to COVID. We changed the date, the size of the reception changes, things like that. And I think we could have changes in the next 2 weeks. Who knows? So what I would say is we are flexible and responsive to the situation, as opposed to, I can't tell you how it would be different. I know what my vision is a couple of years down the road for the event. But right now it's just, we're going with what we have. And I think all things considered, it's been pretty good. It's been a pretty good run.
That's great. That's great. Let's bring Carolyn on. Carolyn, hello.
Hi.
With all the work that you do, Carolyn has had an amazing career in cabaret and theater, and as a chef and owning a restaurant, doing all these other things. Carolyn, what was it that first brought you into, before ASA, Cabaret Scenes magazine? What was it that got you to ASA in the first place?
It's funny. I was in 2006. I had a 2-year-old. I had a restaurant, and I had my first really big year in cabaret. I came up with a concept for a show called Revelry. And that year I won the MAC, the Bistro, the Nightlife Award. I was put on the cover of Cabaret Scenes. I won Stu Hamstra's CD of the year and all this these incredible things. David Friedman, because I sang a wonderful David Friedman song called At Sea. And he presented the award from the Seagulls, which was also a CD award. It was just one of those brilliant years. And I remember having a lovely interview at Cabaret Scenes, becoming close to Peter Levy and his late wife, Barbara.
Yes.
And being sucked into writing some articles. And when I say sucked into, I mean willingly writing some articles, and just was always a subscriber after that.
Yeah, I'll never forget, just to go back in the history, Daryl Henline started Cabaret Scenes magazine. And
27 years ago.
Yes, many years ago. And we did the APAP convention together.
Right.
And I will never forget this. And I'm not going to mention the name, but we were doing the APAP convention, and we showed up, and this was January 10th. I will never forget that. It's my dad's birthday. And we were at the APAP convention, and Daryl Henline walked in, and he looked like he had seen a ghost. And I said, "What? Are you okay?" And he said, "Did you see the news this morning?" Because his major sponsor, and you know what I'm talking about, Carolyn, the major sponsor for Cabaret Scenes magazine was arrested for embezzlement. All the money that had been funneled into the magazine was embezzled money. And they literally had to start over again. Yeah. Everything that they had been working for was, and they literally picked themselves up like the phoenix from the ashes. And didn't you have your business as the Phoenix or something. As
yes, I did. It was called Visible Phoenix.
And it just popped into my head that here's like the two phoenixes rising together. So it's apropos that the two of you come together.
Yeah, I think so too. And the American Songbook Association partnered with Cabaret Scenes simply because Frank Dane, the editor of Cabaret Scenes currently, and Peter Levy and I had an idea of promoting the American Songbook, not just in print, but bringing it into schools. Mm-hmm. And then the idea flourished from there. And I was the director of education then and created the program. And the two things have been working, I think, very sort of synergistically for the 4 years that we've been incorporated. And so much more is going to happen. You have no idea. You have no idea.
Well, I want to hear about your seniors program as well. What are you doing with seniors?
So, the thing about this program, the education program for the kids really is about not creating performers, creating thinkers, as Anne said and Wendy said. With the seniors, the lovely part of this is that we are simply enriching lives. We're bringing pleasure to places where people live, and that's the only goal. And I think that's enough. And I think, as Anne said, when you get older, you become very, very honest. And I am able to bring. So you've seen some entertainment that is specifically for senior centers might not be the highest quality. And I was able to bring Gabrielle Stravelli, who is, I think, at the top of her game as a jazz singer, and David Lamar and Darnell White, who are both just brilliant musicians. And these people knew it, and they stayed, and there was gathering. We were up in a little senior center in Harlem, actually, that was endowed by Jackie Robinson's widow. And it was a lovely place, but not much money. And that's where we're going. We want to go to the places that can't afford us and bring happiness.
I love the fact that you're doing that. And I love what Anne said earlier, and I never really thought about that before, that where you have a very clear vision, you have a very clear focus of where you want to take this music and your vision of where you want to go with this. What has been the biggest obstacle that you have faced prior to COVID in terms of moving forward, in terms of the perceptions that people have of what ASA is or is not?
So I think that's a great question. And I think there are two. One is that the American Songbook is not just 5 guys that wrote between 1910 and 1950 from the east side of New York. The American Songbook is still being written. Carole King and James Taylor wrote the American Songbook. Mm-hmm. Sarah Bareilles is writing the American Songbook. There are a lot of people out there. Leonard Cohen. I mean, I could name so many people that are still writing the Great American Songbook. So what we're trying to do is bring really good music. And okay, so if you need a definition of it very quickly, to me, it means songs that have been recorded by many people that are truly popular and have become part of the vocabulary, the way certain words do. Certain words are just accepted. Impactful is now a word, right? Everybody uses it. It is a standard. It is a standard of our vocabulary. There are certain songs that are too. And I'll listen to something that's brand new on the radio and think, that's on its way to becoming a standard. 60 people are going to record that song. So that's right. So the biggest obstacle is the misconception about what the American Songbook is. And that's very understandable. It's mm-hmm. hard. It's a little vague. That's our job, right? To define that. And the second thing is, honestly, I've been dealing with a lot of schools and places that are afraid to have us in because they think there's going to be a hitch. They think there's going to be a hidden cost. They can't believe that it's free. I'd love to tell you that the fundraising is hard, but I have just begun to fundraise. I am just learning, and I'm a sponge, and I believe that there is money out there. It's just tapping the vein and showing people how. That was a terrible thing to say, tapping the vein. Tapping the vein, making them bleed. But what I mean is, I don't think that the fundraising is ever going to be the obstacle. I think it's showing people that what we're doing is really good, getting the metrics out there. And very soon, you're going to see a gala where we have young adults standing on that stage telling them how we changed their lives.
Mm-hmm.
Well, I do want to say, and I've got the information on the bottom. I mean, tickets are still on sale for this event. Oh, yeah. Some people, we have viewers from all over the world who are watching this. Some people may not be able to go to this event. They can still donate. And if somebody wants to be very generous, they can sponsor somebody to go to this event. That's because there are a lot of people who can't afford to go to this. And if you know somebody who would love to go, who can't afford, treat them. It's a very nice thing to do for somebody. And introduce a young kid and his parent, perhaps, to this music. I know what.
Can I interject there? Just one thing. I do want to say that, this is a fundraiser. It's really important to us. We really have lofty goals. And at the same time, we know that there is a faction of people who want to be there and the more expensive tickets aren't available to them. But so we really thought, we want, we're not making a lot of money on some of the tickets, but the way we figured it out is we said, okay, if you go to Don't Tell Mama and you pay the cover and the food and drink minimum, you're spending about $40, $50. And that's what our cheapest tickets are. And I want those who are in that realm of our potential audience to know that we really thoughtfully wanted to put a price point for them that would benefit them and that they could still be there and be a part of what is going to be an incredible evening.
But Anne, I'm going to go a step further, and that is if you live in Manhattan.
Yes.
Yes. If you live outside of Manhattan, it's even more.
Or the 5 boroughs.
Yes.
The other thing that makes the evening really, really special, and that our artistic director, Scott Coulter, who is also a close friend of Stephen Schwartz, he is making it a little different this year in that this is going to be only 500 people. And it's going to be an intimate evening with people whose lives Stephen Schwartz has changed. All the performers that are getting up on stage, they all know him well, and somehow he changed their lives for good.
For good.
Yes.
And it's going to be like sitting in Stephen Schwartz's very large living room and hearing his friends speak about him. And that's an experience that you probably won't ever see again. So.
And this evening is one evening that will never be repeated again. The big news is Wicked, I'm sure you've all heard, is being made into a motion picture now.
Yep.
And it's being made into 2 motion pictures. Did you know this? It's so
I
big, it's being, divided into 2 films. I love Stephen Schwartz. I've been a fan of his as long as I can remember. And any of you can take this and run with it. But why Stephen Schwartz for this gala?
Honestly, 2 years ago, we wanted Stephen Schwartz. The pandemic hit, and we were very carefully. We didn't think there was a chance we could get him because he is still he's working all the time, and he's working on those films, and he's constantly out of town. And we just kept sending emails about every 3 months saying, we're still interested. Whenever this blows over, we want you. And we got lucky. He represents music that was happening in the 70s and music that's happening now. Mm-hmm. This is one of the greatest opportunities to show the American Songbook that we can possibly have. We're so lucky. We know that he is honoring us by allowing us to honor him.
Are you going to record it or live stream or anything like that?
It is being videoed, and we've been tossing back and forth that we may live stream it. They have the capacity, but it's not terrific. And my feeling is if we can't make it a beautiful live stream, I don't want to do it.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. And aren't there also some? There are also union restrictions, aren't there? Are you dealing with that as well, Carolyn?
Not for the live stream, no. For other things, but not for the live stream.
Okay. Well, I'm going to ask each of you, and I'll start with you, Anne. Do you have a favorite Stephen Schwartz moment? A song, show?
I have a Stephen Schwartz story. So several years ago, I was actually a performer in a tribute to Stephen Schwartz. And very long story short, I was singing chanson, and my microphone went on. It was like a 2,000-seat theater. My microphone went out. The only reason I knew is because I couldn't hear the orchestra anymore. And I'm thinking, why can't I hear the orchestra? I looked down, the conductor's like going like this. I'm like, oh my gosh, my mic is out. So, I just went up to the apron and I just, instead of any kind of nuance of storytelling, I just belted the thing out. I just belted it, filled the space, stopped the show. I had to keep coming back on stage to take bows because the audience wouldn't let the show continue.
Wow.
At intermission, Stephen came up to me and he said, Anne, now everyone is hoping that their mic goes out when they're out.
That's a great story. I love that.
So yeah, he's a lovely, lovely, lovely.
Yes. Yeah, absolutely. What about you, Wendy?
Oh my God, there's too many songs to choose. I'm a huge Schwartz fan. I mean, Where's the Warmth, The Baker's Wife was one of my audition songs early on in my career. But I will say I've had the pleasure of doing Godspell more than once. And every time I did it, I was given the same song, always thinking it was be something else. And I did Turn Back, Oh Man. And I have to say, there is nothing like taking the audience on the ride of Turn Back, Oh Man, especially when you get to walk down the aisles and, play with every, man in the audience. It's just, I did it when I was 17. I did it when I was 21. I did it when I was 25. So it's quite an experience and probably one of the most fun I've ever had in the theater every time I've done it.
That's great. Carolyn?
One of my first regional roles was actually as the leading player in Pippin, and my costume was a red thong and red high-heeled tap shoes. I, at the time, was modeling, looked like $1 million, and my father was in the 6th row center, and my parents are fabulous, as supportive as the day is long, but he extricated himself after the opening number and sat in the back, not looking at the audience, not looking at the stage. He listened the whole time and said, honey, you've never sung better. He could not see his daughter's butt hanging out on the stage. And I don't blame him. My mother watched happy as a clam. You looked fabulous, honey, but
oh, that's great.
Carolyn, the funniest thing, my father, the total opposite is I'm doing Turn Back, Oh Man. The raunchier I was, the more he loved it.
There you go.
And
I was such a good girl and he loved to see that side.
So I've got a series of questions that I'm going to ask. We're going to play a little round robin thing. Our word for the day is legacy. And I want to start with that. And Judi, I'm going to start with you today. Legacy of music with you. I mean, is there a particular music teacher or growing up or someone that left an indelible mark on you? Or maybe you have a favorite Stephen Schwartz song that stands out for you.
Well, legacy for me in music is my dad. My dad played with the New York Philharmonic. He played French horn with the New York Philharmonic under Leonard Bernstein. And growing up,
favorite instrument.
And growing up, I used to go to, young people's orchestra concerts with him, and then I'd go backstage afterwards and hang out with the musicians and hang out with Leonard. So that was my earliest introduction to music. And my dad is who taught me to play piano. And when I was a teenager, I studied piano at Juilliard for a while, and even though I wasn't going to be a classical musician, I didn't play well enough to actually do it as a career, but, loved the instrument. And then growing up again, I grew up in Westchester, and we would go into the city all the time to go to various plays and musicals, so, literally every weekend. So I grew up immersed in musical theater.
That's wonderful. Wow. And I never knew that. That's just great to know. And I want to ask you, who made the greatest impact on you as far as your musical legacy? is concerned growing up?
Yeah, it would have to be my father, because I was so I was such an introvert, and he really saw something in me that I certainly didn't, and never forced me. He wasn't a stage dad or anything, but he just saw something, and he, yeah, he's the guy.
That's great. Wendy?
Well, unoriginal answer, but it would mainly be my father. But, we sat around the piano singing on the weekends. But, there's so many musical influences from my family. My grandparents took me to, actually, all three of my grandparents took me to see my first opera when I actually saw my first opera at the Baths of Caracalla when I was 7 in Italy. My grandparents and one of my grandmothers took me to the Met every year. I had an aunt that volunteered with ABT and the Met, so she took me to dress rehearsals for everything every year. Obviously, I grew up in New York City, so we went to the theater all the time. I saw original cast of Pippin. I'm doing this Marvin Hamlish show. I saw the original cast of A Chorus Line when I was 9 years old. So, I've been blessed to see some of the most amazing, I saw The Pajama Game with Cab Calloway.
Wow.
I saw some of the most amazing performances as a child that, I knew I was seeing amazing things. But when I reflect back on the gifts that were given to me by my family, my extended family, I will never stop appreciating it and just hope that I've given half of that onto my children.
That's wonderful. And Carolyn?
My mother absolutely was. When Anne was talking about her mother being sweet, I thought my mother was a fourth with which to be reckoned. I would never describe her as sweet. She was lovely and kind, but neither of us are particularly sweet, I will say. But her grandfather was a Quaker, and my family came from a very affluent part of Philadelphia. However, there was always community service. My mother was one of the 4 founding mothers of the Head Start program.
Wow.
I'm so proud of that. And she would also be starting the Austin Repertory Theater Company. She was always had her fingers in some kind of amazing volunteer work. And she used to say to me, Carolyn, if everybody in this country did 2 hours of some kind of community service, we would have no hungry and everybody would have a place to live. And she really instilled that in me. And here we are, if I leave any legacy, sometimes I've been called by my loving boyfriend the Don Quixote of music, because there's such disparity of privilege in this world. And some kids get everything and some kids get absolutely nothing. But it's proven that if you get a little something and you get mentorship, you can try to level this playing field and you can make these kids see their opportunities and grow. And I'm going to die trying. So.
Good for you. That's
Can
true.
I jump in for 1
Absolutely.
second? Carolyn, I've been meaning to share this with you all week. So as I said, I'm doing this show about Marvin Hamlish the same week of the gala. So my research is not stopping. Of course, my director wishes it would, but I came across this quote the other day. Listen to this. This brings this week to that week combined perfectly. From Marvin Hamlish, there have been studies that clearly state that children who are exposed to arts education at a young age will in fact do markedly better in school and on their SATs.
There you go.
That's true.
Look at my world coming together in one fell swoop.
And he also said in an interview with Bill Boggs, we are missing young children every day whose parents just don't know where to send them and don't have the money, even if they did. So we have to show them, you have this possibility in your life. Let's figure it out for you and get there. We can do it. I know we can.
Harry Collegian, Carol Channing's husband, used to say, children will not know the difference between a xylophone and a microphone if they are not exposed to it. It's important that we do so. So it's important that we do this. I'm going to bring this up here. The word for today is legacy. So we are here talking about legacy. Danielle, who is watching the show here, came up with a wonderful idea. She said some of our viewers can offer to donate giveaways. And Lisa Rodrigo heard this, and she donated our giveaway for today. And this, as I mentioned earlier, is the book, Defying Gravity, The Creative Career of Stephen Schwartz, From Godspell to Wicked. It's an amazing book. I have the book, and it is absolutely the definitive book on Stephen Schwartz. And all you need to do to be eligible to possibly win this is to put in #legacy. If you have a question for anyone on our panel today, you can even write the question with #legacy, and we'll try to get to those questions. So please do that before the end of the show. I pull up a random question, and I'm going to modify today's question because it said, what's the biggest purchase that you've ever made? And I'm going to modify this question, and I'm going to start with you, Judi. And instead of asking, what's the biggest purchase that you've ever made? What's the biggest purchase that you've ever made when it comes to music? And that could even either be concert tickets or an album that you bought. Anything having to do with music. What's the biggest purchase that you ever made when it came to music?
Probably buying a baby grand piano was the biggest purchase I ever made. When my kids were growing up, I wanted them to learn piano as well, and so bought a really lovely baby grand, and they both learned how to play.
And what about you, Anne?
So is investment and purchase?
It's the same thing. Yes, absolutely.
Well, it would have to be the album that I'm going to be releasing at the end of May. Put a lot into it. I did crowdsource, and that was wonderful, but it wasn't enough. And
I'm bringing it up. Here it is.
And it has been one of the most incredibly rewarding and thrilling experiences with Paul Rolnick at the helm and Randy Klein at Jazzheads, who's my record label now. It's been an extraordinary investment, and I'm very happy. Whatever happens with it, I am so happy.
Will you, Anne, make sure that I get all the information so that I can put that on the YouTube channel for this so that it's all there? Thank you. Wendy.
Well, it would be a toss-up between both of those answers. It would either be our piano or my CD as well. So it probably, I don't know. I actually don't remember, but they're both here. They're both in my lives. So
you've got a new show coming up. So
I do.
We'll plug that right now, May 12th and 13th. And I think, Carolyn, you and I have a date coming up.
We do.
So we're going to both be there. I can't wait.
Yahoo! I can't wait.
Yes, I'm looking forward to that evening. What about you, Carolyn? What's the biggest investment that you've made?
Well, I was going to say years ago, I had all of my, a ton of my music charted, and it cost me quite a pretty penny. And I saved up for about a year and had my charts done. I can write my own charts. I went to music school and I can write charts, but they're not good. They're just not as good as, a John Weber chart, or he did a tremendous number of them, but actually it's my CDs, both of my CDs, Reveille and Visible Phoenix. They are labors of love, I'll tell you, and money. So I feel your pain, Anne. I feel yours, Wendy, but I'm thrilled to listen.
No pain. Yeah. It's so rewarding. There's no pain.
Good.
So my next question, and this is for Anne and Wendy and Carolyn, and I'm going to start with you, Carolyn. What is the lowest low that you have experienced when it comes to your art over the past 2 years because of what we've gone through, and what has gotten you through it?
I think when the pandemic hit, I had 2 live performances every week. I was going to hotels and singing to complete strangers and having tremendous success because they were complete strangers once. And the next week they came back. And it was really fulfilling because in the world of cabaret, often you have a lot of friends coming and filling your audience. This was a brand new group of people, and I was working new. I was spreading my wings professionally in ways that I never had been able to. And then it all ended in a day. I missed it terribly. It was very depressing not to be able to do it. And what got me through it? Counting my blessings. I have a beautiful son. He's not a child anymore. And even a
He's a
dog.
child. He's your child.
And a dog that I adore, and my health and all of those things. And I stayed in touch with the people that I dearly love, and I'm lucky enough to have in my life. And it got me through.
That's great. And Wendy?
Well, end of 2019, the CD was on it had come out September of 2019, and it was on a really fantastic ride, and it was selling well, and it was getting getting awards and acknowledgments, and so many things were happening, and we had all these shows booked, and then the pandemic hit and it all ended. But I don't think that was really the biggest low. The biggest low was because I had moved out to Arizona. I was completely cut off from my creative team. And there was no way for us to work. I mean, literally no way. Carolyn gave me a great gift. I actually did the first Sunday sessions for the ASA, and I don't even remember what that program was. I did
acapella.
I did a side-by-side video with David Friedman after I had won the Lamont Friedman Award. But I was cut off from Chris Denny and Barry Kleinbort for about 7 months. And then a new program came along called Jam Kazam, and Chris became the guru of Jam Kazam. And he told me what I needed, and he said, let's do this. And Barry wasn't set up yet. We put the headphones on and we sang through, I think, New Sheryl in Town, just for the sake of it. And the tears just poured. They just poured. I don't even think I realized how much. But aside from my beautiful family, I will throw some acknowledgement to Carolyn, because at the end of many a tough day, we would text each other and go, are you there? Are you there? I'm ready to explode. And we shared many a tear through the beginning of the pandemic.
Yep, we did.
Wow. Anne?
So I guess mine was a little bit more self-inflicted, in that there were certain environments I found myself in that fed my fear that I wasn't adequate enough to be a performer, and to have people pay to come and see me perform, and all these different things. And what got me through it was just, honestly, people, it's just this life of a spiritual journey of going, that's bull. It's just bull. It's bull. And I can either choose to feed off it and just keep, feeding towards failure, or I can go, why am I doing this to myself? This is ridiculous. I'm going to create the environment that supports me as an artist. And that's what I chose to do. And that's what I've been doing. And yeah, it's pretty much it.
Judi, do you want to weigh in on anything that you've just heard here?
No, it sounds to me like, everybody really found their way through it. You're all very resilient, and have a can't stop me kind of an attitude. So even when you get, waylaid for a while, you come back, as Carolyn mentioned, you count your blessings, and you look at your strengths, and, you say, it's not over yet. So, I think, and we're talking, about, lessons we've learned, from our mothers. And I think probably, all of the women here have learned lessons from their mothers, that you don't give up. You deal with what life gives you, and you keep on going. My mother used to say, I'm not an optimist or a pessimist, Judi. I'm a realist. And I think that's really kind of what that meant.
Mm-hmm.
That's wonderful. We're going to give away a book, and let's go here, and let's draw, and let's see who's going to be our winner today. And we'll see who the winner is. Let's see here. Howard Tucker is our winner. So Howard, I will put you in touch with Lisa, and we will get that book to you. And thank you, Lisa, once again for donating this. Everyone, we're going to give everyone a chance to have your final word today. Anything you want to say about anything that we talked about today that you want to build upon. anything that we didn't talk about that you wish that we had, or just any final message that you want to give for anyone who's watching right now. I'm going to start, and then we'll go with you, Anne, and then Wendy, and then Carolyn, and then Judi, you will have the final word today. I want to thank you all for showing up today. And I know that I can speak for everyone on this panel. We don't take it lightly when you show up. The fact that you spent an hour with us, you could have been anywhere else for the last hour. One thing that we didn't talk about that I do want to mention is that what we do here, Judi and I are not the only ones who do this. Carolyn has a wonderful show that she does, I think, once a month. Are you doing it, Carolyn, or are you doing it
once a month? That's right.
Once a month. And she does them on Sunday afternoons when they are, do you have a schedule or?
I don't. I do Sunday sessions, and I grab the person that I'm most interested in speaking with and find out what Sunday they're available. And usually I give people about a 2-week lead time so that I can put together the show.
She just did an amazing interview with Ann Tallman, just brilliant. I'm glad that I got her before you did, because it's like I go, oh my God, she asked these questions, So great. And just, they are wonderful interviews. Really, I love your in-depth questions that you ask and the research that you put into them. They are on the American Songbook Association cabaret scenes page on
YouTube and the YouTube channel and Facebook.
Yes, so please go and check them out. Do you have the next one scheduled yet?
Well, I did, but now I don't. It was I was to have Jason Gra, but he's jetting out all over the place, so I may have him on the 8th. I'll let you know.
I will tell you, Jason Gra, I have been very fortunate to interview him. That's him calling now.
Yeah.
Where are you, Carolyn? Where are you?
Exactly.
Jason Gra is truly, I have to say this, it's a shame this man has no talent. And I'm joking, because he is one of the funniest men on the planet.
He is.
All you need to do is say hello and I'm gone. Just funny, and I cannot wait to see him at the gala.
Yeah.
So please do check out what the work that Carolyn's doing, and thank you, Carolyn, because you keep me entertained with this work. So thank you for doing it. I bow to you and the work that you do.
Right back at you.
Thank you. I also, there's something that I really, when I say at the end of the show that it's important that you reach out to people with a phone call and not just an email or a text or anything. It's not lip service. There are two things that I want to talk about right now. And that's the fact that I've seen a lot of negativity swirling around on certain performers and things. Stop it. Just stop it. If you don't like a show or something, hide it or don't put it out there. There's no need for it. You're not helping anyone by doing it. It just take the time to celebrate each other instead of, ripping each other apart. I also think that it's important for us to reach out to each other, because you don't know when it's going to be that last time that you get a chance to do so. When we lost Jay Binder recently, I see all of these postings where everyone's talking about the difference that he made in their lives, how they got that big break because of him, the photographs and everything. And I thought how wonderful that would have been if those things had been on Facebook 2 weeks prior to that. And I know that we can't do that with everybody, but pick that one person each day that you're going to do that for, just to say, you've made a difference in my life. That's the legacy that we can leave with each person. And that's the message that I want to leave for everybody today. As our dear friend Sean Moniger says, we're all in this together, but we're not in the same boat. And you know what I say after that? If you're going to go out in a boat, make sure you bring a skipper along. So I am going to leave everyone by saying, if you enjoyed today's show, please leave a comment on YouTube. I know I sound like a broken record when I say this, but what that does is that helps with the analytics. That really raises the ratings of this show. That helps other people to see it as well. So leave a comment, share this show with your friends. Please, 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 if you can, make a contribution to the American Songbook Association. As you've seen today, they are doing amazing work. Please do so. If you can go on the 12th, I can't speak for these ladies.
May 9th.
The 12th Winnie Hill show.
Yes.
Go to that show as well. On the 9th, go to both shows. But go on the 9th. Be there because I would love to see you. And then join us again on the 12th for Wendy's show. But please, if you're not able to go, treat someone else to the show. That would be a nice gesture to do something nice for somebody. But anyway, go out and do nice things in the world. That's what we're here for. That's the legacy I would like all of us to leave for each other. And on that note, Anne, I'm going to give you the stage. It's all yours. Thank you all for being here today, and have a wonderful tomorrow. Thank you.
Thank you, Richard. So I'm not as eloquent a speaker as Richard, but he just inspired me for what I'm going to say, which is that, I have a release event party for my Reimagine album at the end of May 26th, and I haven't been promoting it. And partly because I've been feeling a little awkward because I want to use any influence that I have towards the gala, which is May 9th, which I'm devoted for its success. But, you listen to Richard or I listen to Richard and I go, I think what's really important to say about this, and this includes Wendy's show, my show, the gala, is we're doing this because we want to make your life better, special. We want to give you an escape. We want to enrich your lives through our art. And so just know that when we are promoting whatever it is we're promoting, we're working so hard to make sure that when you walk into that room, that you're going to then walk out of that room feeling refreshed, feeling energized. And that is our goal. And I am so confident that Wendy's going to be doing that May 12th and 13th. And I'm very confident, more than confident, that May 9th is going to be a spectacular evening that you will not want to miss. So please join us. And if you're looking for something to do, May 26th, we'll be at the Laurie Beachman. That's another show you can go and enjoy. So thank you, and have a wonderful early weekend if you can. Bye.
Thanks, Sam. Wendy?
So, we talked early on in the show about, the work and how much work I've put into the gala. But I have to say, part of it is, we talk about mothers. I was also raised with, the idea of giving. And it has been my actual, and I say this in all my posts, and I say this to people, it has truly been my honor and my pleasure to be a part of this gala and to do the work I'm doing, because what the ASA is doing truly means so much to me that it's not work. It's something I love and it's my passion. And so I hope that people really do, if you're listening or you're seeing what we're putting out there, I really do hope you will come, because it's not just about an amazing evening of music, which it will be, but what you're doing is passing on to the next generation all the gifts that we've received. And I just hope that you will come and help support that mission and be a part of it with us.
Great. Thanks so much.
So I became a slightly verklempt, a little bit teary as I was watching Anne and Wendy speak at the beginning of the show. And I have to say that I get incredibly passionate and focused. And in that passion for the mission of the ASA, I think it's very easy when you have a personality like mine to feel alone. And when I sit back and I look, of course, I know I'm not alone. I have an incredible board. I've got good friends. Women like Wendy and Anne display all the same passions, but in their own unique and brilliant way. And so the team aspect of it is huge. I just want the world to know that, because people look at what we're trying to do and they think, oh, you're going to take some music into some schools and it won't do anything. It does do something. We can be effective people. We can change lives. And it doesn't take monumental, astronomical amounts of money. And it takes focusing, being passionate, having a team to create a legacy. And I'm so grateful to the people that I have around me, and Wendy, Richard, Judi, for giving us the opportunity to get this word out. We can be effectual as a world, as a globe, if we work together to do it and if we care.
Thanks, Carolyn. And you are three remarkable women doing God's work.
Thank you, Judi.
So, thank you for being with us. And we are approaching Mother's Day. So a couple of thoughts about how to celebrate Mother's Day. I think the most important thing is, and I have two children of my own as well, who I have a great relationship with. I'm very fortunate. Is to understand what's important to your mother. The go-to is always gifts, give my mom a gift. Well, the gift doesn't necessarily have to be a material gift. What is her love language? Is it what we call words of affirmation, telling her how much she means to you, maybe writing it in a card or a poem? Is it quality time? So arranging to spend a day with her, doing something special that she would enjoy doing. Is it physical touch, hugs, massage? Maybe you can, give her a foot rub. Or is it what we call an act of service, doing something meaningful that she knows would really mean a lot to her, and that she knows you are doing for her. So, and an act of service can be, arranging to get her her bedroom painted, or something fixed at where she lives. That it can be anything like that. So really thinking about those kinds of gifts. It doesn't have to be a purse or something along those lines. And really understanding that celebrating your mother, no matter what your relationship with her might be like, is one of the most important things that you can do for you as well as for her. Thanks for being with us, and we'll see you in 2 weeks.